There's no sound in it.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no sound.
As you can see, the
Or
schedule,
No sound.
we will be going into the no hard separation between
no audio.
skill education.
अभी ठीक है मैम?
The WebEx webinar enforce screen mode for a
Yes,
better
yes.
presentation, very important.
I think
There is some audio problem. Excuse me. Not audible to anyone. Anybody from CBSE?
Yes, ma'am.
They are writing in the chat, not audible.
There are many tiles in that.
Ma'am, I am audible?
You are audible, but it is not audible.
Tiles started completing
Participants are writing. Yes, now audible, they are saying.
this news here. Is stamping
I close video and take over meeting, ma'am. And can you
Okay,
start?
thank you. Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the webinar on PRAYOG. In the first day, we had discussed and deliberated about 6 modules. Responsibilities of school principal as a pedagogical leader. We also talked about competency-based education and experiential learning. We deliberated on various kind of innovative pedagogical tools, whether it was art integrated learning, sports integrated learning, storytelling. We also discussed about inclusive practices. Today we are on the second day, wherein we will be deliberating on 7 different modules. We'll talk about no hard separation between subjects. That's a very, very important mandate for the new national education policy. We'll deliberate upon various other modules. We'll run through competency-based assessment. We'll talk about SUFFLE. We will also talk about environmental education, peer education, and skill education. We'll reiterate the commitment of NEP on excellence in education. And I'm sure, since day one deliberations, many of you need to think over what are the things which are doable. I'm sure as pedagogical practices, as pedagogical leader, after attending so many webinars and workshops on it, there must be some of the things which we have been able to incorporate in our schools as pedagogical leaders. Without now wasting further time, because today's webinar is going to be power packed with lot of things, we will be talking about today and directly we'll proceed for implement them in our schools. You have to give me a moment. I'll share my presentation. I hope my screen is visible. As I discussed with you, we will be talking today about no hard separation between academics and skill education, focus on environmental education, life skill and peer education. We'll also talk about competency-based assessment, SAFL, holistic progress card, and finally, we'll have SQUA. No hard separation between academics and skill education. As per NEP mandate, page 13, para 4 talks about empowering our students through giving them greater flexibility in terms of choice of subjects of study, particularly in the secondary school curriculum, by including physical education, arts and craft education, vocational skills, so that the learner may design their own paths of study and life plan. The focus on holistic development would be by providing a wider choice of subject without distinguishing between academic courses and skill courses, curricular or co-curricular courses, so that what will be the focus here is to check that what is interesting to the student and what is safe at each stage of learning. All of us know that NEP 2020, there has been a pedagogical and curricular restructuring from our erstwhile existing 10 plus 2 plus 3 structure to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, covering ages 3 to 18. As per NEP 2020, there should be no hard separation between learning domain, between arts and sciences, between curricular or extracurricular and co-curricular, between vocational and academic stress. Now, this has been done to eliminate harmful hierarchies in academics, and also to do away with the silos between different areas of learning. It also mandates that all educational system should look at moving towards, in as far as it is practical, should move towards a semester system. Now that which allows inclusion of shorter modules which can be taught on alternate days, so that students get an exposure to numerous subjects. They are given subjects from a basket from where they can choose. And how this can be done? All states, everyone has to look together to this. See, the policy proposal, it talks about foundational stage curriculum plan, FLN, which we have been talking for some time, wherein we know it has been institutionalized. The learning from the stage of foundation stage has been decided to carry it on in institutional setting, and how to cover 5 years of foundational stage, and it would be covered under a broad umbrella of early education and early childhood care and education, ECCE. That is what wherein learning is divided as per National Curriculum Framework. It is divided into domains that are closely related to the developmental domains of the child, be it physical, social, or emotional. And they as also informed, these domains are also given by the Panchakosha. That leads to the preparatory stage, which is again for grades 3, 4, and 5. In the preparatory stage, the curriculum framework NCF is divided into languages, mathematics, physical education, and the world around us. The world around us would be an interdisciplinary area that encourages exploration and understanding of both the natural world and the social world. Now that will gradually lead to the middle stage curriculum, covering again 3 years of grades 6, 7, and 8. The middle stage will expand into curricular areas of sciences, the study of the natural world, and social science, the study of human world. Students will also get an exposure to vocational education. And from this stage, they will go to the secondary stage, which consists of 4 years of grade 9, 10, 11, and 12. Here, they will have a choice of choosing from a huge basket of subjects, wherein they will have some stages, which would be some courses which everyone have to go through. That would be those essential courses. Then there would be a second one, which would be choice-based courses, from where they would have to pick up from anyone. They would be exposed to vocational, and value education, sports education, art education will become an integral part of this stage. Students would also be exposed to, as per initiative of CBSE, the impetus would be on applied skills, like on various kind of applied skill to enhance employability and to make our students entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So entrepreneurial school will also be emphasized. A suggestive packet of various subjects, wherein we have the language band, from where English and Hindi can be one. Then we have mathematics, composite science with focus on innovation and research, and social science, which will have a local heritage content. That would be termed as the core band. And then we have the transversal band, which would consist of art and aesthetics, health and safety, applied life skills, which would come from compulsory club activity or hobby classes. This is how the CBSE website for skill education looks, and every one of us are aware of it. It not only gives various sample papers, the skill modules offered by CBSE for middle, secondary, and senior secondary classes is also described. And we all know for secondary classes, CBSE is giving almost around 22 skill subject offering. And in the senior secondary, more than 43 skill subjects are being offered. It talks about here we get a plethora of information provided by CBSE, whatever would be needed for introducing skill subjects in our schools. This is a screenshot of National Credit Framework, NCRF, that has been given by the CBSE, wherein it talks about providing credit system, introduction of credit system. And 8th semester that is being suggested from grade 9 to grade 12 by the National Credits Framework. Basically, in this module, we are talking about the emphasis is we as educators, because of various kind of constraints, many a time tend to offer limited choice of subjects. Despite our logistical issues, administrative issues, we need to rethink and provide them with wide range of subjects so that the learner, the student can choose what they like and they can take that from their choice would be dependent upon what they are liking, what they want to, that may be guided by the higher studies that they want to take, or it may also be guided by the employment opportunities that they perceive. With this, we move on to environmental education, which is also very much linked with higher education institutions should have a curricula wherein credit-based courses and projects are introduced. And in areas of community engagement and service, environmental education and value-based education. Environmental education will include various areas like the present world is becoming increasingly understand global issues to become active promoters for a more peaceful, tolerant, inclusive, secure, and sustainable society. The NEP leads to convergence of various schemes towards this. It has taken up. First would be sensitizing, integrating awareness and sensitivity towards environment and sustainable development. It also talks about making environmental education in consonance with NEP, and which would cover the various environmental topics like waste management. We need to talk about biological diversity, how to protect the flora and fauna. It also takes into account life movement, which is actually taking initiatives to promote such kind of lifestyle which are in sync with we need to make our students aware to promote and practice those kind of lifestyles that are in sync with our environment and does not harm our planet. So that various stakeholders come into collaboration and they create solutions for change in lifestyle to lead a more sustainable living. It also speaks about Fame India scheme, which is actually talks about addressing pollution caused by petrol and use of petrol and diesel, and that is done by taking over, converting to electrical mobility. India, it is a signatory to the Conference of Parties, which was held in November to December 2015 in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, whereby it has committed to reduce greenhouse gas emission intensity of that to be reduced by 33 to 35% below 2005 level. Make the base of power capacity depend 40% of the power capacity of the country should be on non-fossil fuel, create a carbon sink so that the CO2 equivalent 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent through additional forest cover. These are the commitments in international forum that has been made by India. So we need to teach our students to take over environmental protection as a challenge and to practice those kind of living. One of the fundamental duties, as mentioned in 51A, Article 51A says that it is the bounden duty of every citizen to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, to have compassion for empathy and compassion for living creatures. There is another scheme that has been given, and that is National Hydrogen Mission, which was launched in 2021, and it aims at making India a green hydrogen hub. Now, CBSE mandates on environmental education. Several mandates have been given by the CBSE to be implemented in the schools for environmental, and the one most important is mandatorily create eco clubs. And for those schools which are already having them, we should come forward to strengthen whatever exists. We can take up conservation of water, the Jal Shakti Abhiyan by Government of India's initiative for water conservation. Schools can play a lead role in educating children, thereby linking the community for water conservation, to make it as one of the themes for various kind of activities that are undertaken by eco clubs in the school. We can also integrate sustainability and water conservation in various co-curricular activities that we plan in the schools from primary to the senior secondary level. Inculcate water conservation habits among students and ensure that every child in the class from 5 to 12 mandatorily takes up any activity of saving 1 liter of water every day at home or in school, so that we become water efficient. And needless to say, seva activities which are undertaken from 9 to 12 can have mandatory water conservation as a theme. What are the objectives that can come for eco clubs? Students explore environment, understand its concepts and challenges, become more sensitive to the challenges of the environment, take action to conserve and protect the environment. They sensitize, no, this is within the school, and there is a change in the attitude and behavior. They sensitize their peers, school authorities, parents and community about environmental problem through these club activities. So basically, eco clubs can go a long way in creating an awareness and sensitivity towards various environmental issues. A behavioral change and a positive attitude towards environment can be developed in the learner. They will develop positive skills towards environment. They'll be able to analyze environmental problems, suggest and implement suitable solutions to follow up actions for this. By eco club activities, the learners can be engaged in scientific inquiry. And above all, we may be able to reduce the ecological footprint of the school. Why do we think sustainable development? Why at all we feel that it is important for all schools? Because it is the national education policy also highlights the ethical issues that surrounds the sustainability and developmental issues of countries. We need to change the way we live and way we educate our students. Therefore, our education to children should also include talk about clean and renewable energy, water conservation, farming, environmental preservation, and other green initiatives that can be taken up by the school. So it promotes development, prosperity, economic opportunity, social well-being, and protection of environment. It can lead to social transformation when they are made aware of the responsibilities towards the environment. It will lead to various kind of skill enhancement in terms of they'll build up confidence, autonomy, leadership, and develop life skills like critical thinking. When we invest in sustainable development, we are actually investing in the future. And these sustainable practices will also improve the academic performance of students by providing a conducive learning environment. With this, there is a commitment to conserve water, adopt best practices for management of waste, promote cleanliness, both at home and school at large. The CBSE Sunya project that was introduced actually is an attempt to partner with schools and students towards a more sustainable future. Schools would provide a framework to undertake an in-depth school audit. You know, children can be used for this, and it's a created and made by the students through self-reflection. They will assess the school practices, and then how do they assess the school practices? That would be the baseline. How is the waste in the school managed? What is done with sewage water wasted? Do we have, what kind of green practices are followed in the school? That would form the baseline. And then they can define their developmental goals for the forthcoming year. They can then move together, all stakeholders can move towards making the school a green school. Available resources, CBSE handbooks on eco clubs and water conservation that are there. Before we move to the next, we're talking about life skills, the various types of life skills, 10 core life skills as identified by World Health Organization. What are the various kind of life skills and how do they aid and facilitate general problem solving as a major life skill? Critical thinking, these are the 21st century life skills. coping with stress, managing emotions. We'll talk about life skills, and needless to say how important life skills are. Again, life skills again, this stems out from page 12, wherein we were talking in the previous webinar, day 1 also, we spoke in detail about experiential learning. In order to create well-rounded learners, individuals who contribute productively, it is very, very important that we do not focus only on the cognitive domain. We also have to talk about, when we talk about holistic development, we also have to promote physical and psychological well-being. On the one hand, while we take steps for enhancing the cognitive abilities. CBSE has taken various initiatives, whether it is adolescent education, CBSE counseling program. These are the various initiatives that have been taken up by the CBSE, and I'm sure all of us are aware of it. Life skill education program, employability program, art integrated learning, student enrichment activities, holistic cards, etc., progress card, about which we will take up in the later. Now, this adolescent education and gender sensitization program, that was taken up, initiated as the process of it was a wonderful initiative taken up, wherein we sensitize the children and particularly the adolescent during for various kind of programs like abuse, sex education, and how to enhance necessary life skills in adolescent so that they can manage any kind of situation independently. CBSE counseling program, for the more than last 25 years, CBSE has been providing counseling services to students and parents. We know, all of us know, that to overcome anxiety and to address the psychological problems related to exams, results, etc. The life skill education program, which helps people aged 15 years and above to develop the skills that empowers and allow them to explore career options, to build a job search. Employability skills talks about that. Art integrated learning, we will not speak much today because of constraint of time. We have done this, an innovative pedagogy where we are using various art forms, be it music, dance, theater, various kind of art form, painting, as a pedagogical tool. Then we talk about student enrichment activities and seva, which is a huge, around 9 to 12 grade students can be used to that, and they can connect. It is a connect with the community. Learner engaged in this program are expected to be lifelong learners through experiential learning. The experiential and constructive modes of learning emphasizes the immediate personal experience of the learner and the view learning as a process. It can be anything. Seva can, there are various activities that can be taken up as a Seva project. Exhibition for fundraising, organizing musical extravaganza, running school cafe with focus on nutrition, school gardening project, developing a medicinal garden in the school somewhere. Various kind of activities. These are merely, I'm sure, as school leaders, many of you are doing a lot of things. Various kind of in-school activities such as organizing school-based events can also be a very good exemplar for incorporating seva. Holistic progress card, we will take this up later. So we will not discuss in detail how, and I'm sure the circular issued by CBSE must have been read by all of you, and you are aware of it, a 360-degree multidimensional report of progress that not only reflects the progress, but also the uniqueness of each learner, and in all the domains, whether it is cognitive, whether it is socio-emotional, affective, all those psychomotor, all domains are covered. Life skill education, how, various kind of skills that we talk about: entrepreneurial skill, emotional skills, social skills, coping skills, thinking skills, all these are, and these are the various uh, kind of mandates. It is a part of curriculum. Now, life skill education has been introduced as a part of curriculum by CBSE since 2003, and adolescent peer educator program that was launched in 2021, the peer educators leadership in life skill health and well-being, that was held in November 2021, and the outcome of the program included positive impact on holistic development and upgrading from core life skills to 21st century skills. That was one of the more major shift. So that it also, CBSE mandates to appoint counselor and wellness teacher, and training of teachers in life skills, mental health issues, gender sensitization, inclusive practices, guidance and counseling. So it advises schools to adopt an integrated approach for transacting life skill education. I mean, it can be incorporated. What values, when they are transacting an academic subject also, what is the value incorporation? What values are given in by the concept while teaching that concept? What values students are learning? And therefore, it is not an independent study, but a study in terms of integration, so that life skill education can be integrated with the curricular activities that are undertaken in the school. What are the transactional strategies? Various, I mean, it can be taken up by various kind of transactions, including it can be a simulated situation can be given. It can be question, answer, miming, song, dance. It can be brainstorming, a demonstration that goes on. So it's various kind of activities. School can follow an experiential and child-centric method, strategies based on the particular needs, development and interest of the learner. And the learners can be encouraged to find information on their own through various interactive activities. As a part of this life skill and an integral part, inseparable part of this life skill education is the peer education program. How does it help? Peer education program, it helps in spreading awareness among individuals, various kind of education like health abuses, various kind of abuses, whether it is substance abuse, that children, to make them aware of that, give them important sex education and life skill education. How do we define peer education program? A system of delivering knowledge which improves social learning and provides psychological support also. Now, this provides an opportunity to the students to promote positive lifestyle choices among fellow students, as well as sharpen practice and develop their professional skills. It will add to developing of professional skills. Now, the CBSE Peer Educators Program. This, with the conceptual framework of what peer education and leadership program is going to give, CBSE's framework of physical, mental, interpersonal development, it talks about certain themes. In order to do this, certain themes have been identified by CBSE to have a far-reaching effect on developing peer education. See, to live the various themes, first, we have already discussed in the previous slide, we deliberated that the journey has to be from core life skills to the 21st century skills. it needs to tell how to build resilience. How do they cope up with various kind of negativities that come, and how do they build capacities to emerge, rise again. They may fall, but we need to make them resilient enough to be able to rise again. Now, another theme that can be taken up in peer educators program is growing up healthy, and how that can be done. And it can be easily done through focusing on hygiene, nutrition. Another theme can be caring, communication. These are all emerging requirements. How to deal with emotions, dealing with anger, loss, sadness, developing healthy interpersonal relationship. That can also be taken up by interpersonal, mobilizing peer support. They can improve the interpersonal relationship by mobilizing peer support. How do we empower them? For self, digital world, the prevention of digital world risk, high risk, allied risk with the digital world. We can also use this peer educators program, alumni can be called, and career choices, they can make effective career choice by integrating life skill with their curricular approaches in the school. The various resource material that are available would be the handbooks, and they are easily available on CBSE website, academic website. It can be easily downloaded. I'm sure since these life skills manuals have been developed a couple of years back, so I'm sure all of you as school leaders must have gone through it. But then these are documents. If you haven't read, do take out some time. We as principals do whatever we have to do all through the day, must take out time to these manuals. These webinars are only to reiterate that what we need to do, there's enough of resources available. What we need to do is actually to go through, because if we are able to go through these manual, we'll get a lot of ideas. We can improvise on them, make them contextualize them. What is true to my context, my locality, my geographical area? You need to decide as a school leader and implement. Life skill modules are there, and then the 21st century skill, very excellent handbook on this. There is also a handbook available, manual available for mental health and well-being, which has come to the forefront and which is extremely important to address this mental well-being. Somehow we tend to ignore this. The kind of care that we take for our students in the school when it comes to a physical harm, we tend to overlook the mental well-being, which can no longer be taken on a lighter note, because we do not know, particularly when there was this learning loss for about 2 years, they were at home due to pandemic. So what they have gone through, we need to address that, and enough of resources are available on this. That brings us to our next module, which will talk about competency-based assessment. We have been speaking about competencies instead of, and various kind of skills and competencies need to be developed, and children would be able to progress only those minimum competencies are achieved, then only they move to the higher. In this webinar on day 2, we'll take up one portion of that our assessment also need to change. If the way in which we teach is changing from teacher-centric to become child-centric, the learner at the center of all activities, then the assessment also need to change. So long, our traditional method would focus mainly on taking up the memorization of fact. Therefore, our assessments were also based on directly from NEP para 4, which talks about a shift from the kind of assessments that we do, which is mostly summative, and primarily tries to test rote memorization, from which is, mostly summative. Why? Because it is a year-end exam. We are not taking up any assessment during learning. To that, where we have to focus on more regular and formative, which is competency-based assessment. Now, by that, it promotes, competency-based assessment would promote testing the higher order skills like critical thinking, analysis, conceptual clarity. It will help the teacher as well as student and the entire schooling system to continuously maneuver with the teaching learning processes with one aim, and that is optimizing the learning and development of students. This will be the underlying principle for assessment at all levels of education. See, what is competency-based education? Competency-based education can be divided into 3. One is the curriculum design and teaching learning. We have talked about the curriculum design on day 1, which focuses on learning outcomes. And then, it talks about various kind of skills that come across various academic subjects and focused on learning outcomes. We also have talked about the teaching learning processes that need to be taken up for competency-based education. The teaching learning has to be student-centric, experiential learning, interactive teaching learning method, development of higher order thinking skills. We also have discussed that it helps in self-paced, individualized learning and appropriate formative assessment methods and feedback. We'll talk today on assessment of competency-based. That is what we will take up. Now, it should have a relevance with not only the real world relevance for the assessment, it should test the higher order skills, should lead to equity and inclusivity, must have interdisciplinary assessment, and the assessment that we design need to be valid and reliable. CBSE has given us this learning framework where we need to discuss the nature of the subject, and the learning outcomes have been specified by NCERT, which has been given by CBSE also, and that it has to be the specific content domains as per the syllabus given by CBSE. Now, each subject will define its specific cognitive levels. We need to create indicators for every learning outcome, then design sample pedagogical processes for assessment. And once we do that, we will be able to design our question paper. Then we have to have constructed response assessment items. Keep each question, keep them ready with various sample, select the sample, and then develop the marking scheme also. When we talk about objective of competency-based assessment, what are the various objectives that we have to come across when we talk about developing an assessment which is competency-based? Whenever we come across competency-based assessment, it will have 3 major domains, which are knowing, applying, and reasoning. Now, the domain of knowing is basically to address students' ability. All of us know this. We have been doing Bloom's taxonomy. We have been reading this for a long time. Just a quick recapitulation of what we have been doing. Whenever we are testing their knowing, we are in their knowing domain, we are trying to address the students' ability to recall, recognize, describe, provide examples of facts, concepts, and procedures that are necessary for a sound foundation. It can be in any subject. These are, provide examples. When we talk about applying, they are able to use their knowledge to compare, contrast, and classify groups of objects of material. So they'll be able to relate knowledge of an underlying concept to, and then they will be able to infer that property, behavior. Now they will be using, students would be able to use various diagrams, models to demonstrate. This is all in the applying domain. They'll be able to interpret information, explain. Now all this, when we are assessing these, we are in the applying domain. And finally, the third domain is when learners are engaged in reasoning. No, the data needs to be analyzed by them and they will draw conclusions, draw inferences going to use. The length of the assessment and the during, it should be able to measure it over consistently over a given period of time. And if the needs to be changed, then we should be able to explain why the change is being made. The test item, the assessments need to be valid, and any assessment gain validity only when their aims, objectives, knowledge covered, skills to be developed, and the content to be tested are explicitly stated. The rubrics, any kind of test for which we are taking our learners through, they must be, the rubrics should be shared. They must know what are the contents on which they will be assessed, what would be the rubrics on which they would be assessed. These needs to be shared. The terms related to assessment should be uniformly created. Then it helps working on the assessment and communicating clearly. A competency-based assessment learning framework would provide guidance for writing the items by explaining the learning domains which needs to be covered, how they are defined, what are the various proposition of the test to be conducted, and which focus on what domain. Assessment competency-based assessment framework for item development will depend upon, these are the fundamental of, first, the fundamental purpose of the test has to be explicitly said. The following parts of assessment framework are particularly important. We need to understand the first clarity that the paper setter has to have is what is the purpose of the test. Then we talk about what is the range of content and what are the skills that we need to assess. What is the target population? And what are the various kind of response formats to be used? Is it going to be multiple choice question? Are we going to give them a short answer? What kind of descriptors are we going to use? The length of the assessment and the duration of the test. All these needs to be designed exclusively. Just an example, how will the assessment differ? What do we have when we, this is from class 10 English, a poem has been taken, which is a tiger in the zoo, very much there. Just taken up, this slide shows that what is the difference between a competency-based question and a traditional question, whereby, just an example, how the same poem can be used for creating the usual question that we have, whereby a straightforward, which is taken up from the comprehension given, like what is the synonym of for terrorizing, and then another where they need to, when it is competency based, they have to convey their ideas and thoughts, and how beautifully language testing is happening, but then It is testing whether they are able to, you need to answer, your answers are testing the higher order thinking skills also. Similarly, an item for whether students have understood and they are able to interpret a velocity time graph. Again, a difference between a competency-based question and a direct question on traditional question. How the same question can be tweaked to form a competency-based one, or how do we make it into a just rote memorization of the facts. Similar is the case of calculate the relevant area of circular, a circle that is given. And we need to reward on the based on their method of solving is also very, very important. The various materials that are available, CBSE Handbook on Assessment and Evaluation, that's there in CBSE website. I'm sure all of you have seen this Handbook of Assessment and Evaluation. Study of existing assessment structure of CBSE schools, that's by Oxford University Press, and video series given on assessment and evaluation. These all materials, please take out some time to go through them. These all materials give us huge amount of resources for implementation of competency-based assessment into our classrooms, so that we are able to shift our learners to higher order thinking skills. We'll be talking about SAFAL. Again, something that we have been doing for quite some time since it was done last year. But before we do this, I'll just try to share the video on, again, I've taken up from CBSE only, the video that a small video, which again I have taken up from CBSE website itself and on SAFAL.
To promote critical thinking, inquiry and analysis-based learning is a key reform in the National Education Policy 2020. The key features of SAFAL are competency-based assessment to monitor progress on core concepts such as measurement, reading comprehension, operations, application, and critical thinking. Assesses students on competencies to grades below and at their grade level. Assessment will not impact students' promotion to the next grade, and students won't have to experience exam pressure or stress. The assessment will have high-quality, competency-based questions. Reporting on absolute levels of learning will provide schools, parents, and students development feedback on critical competencies. SAFAL will nudge the education system towards competency-based learning, measuring the effectiveness of the school system and identifying areas of intervention at a classroom level. School reports will provide school principals and teachers with actionable steps at classroom level. CBSE schools can opt in for SAFAL in grades 3, 5 and 8. Students will be assessed on mathematics, language and science. SAFAL is a stepping stone to enable competency-based education in all schools.
That talks about SAFAL. We are now, since it has been introduced, we are now familiar with SAFAL, which stands for Structured Assessment for Analyzing Learning. It is a competency-based assessment by which we assess the students' learning outcomes on various key competencies. What are the, who are the stakeholders of this? It is applicable to all school management, whether it is private, government, private schools affiliated with CBSE. It focuses on testing core concepts and application of knowledge and higher order thinking skills. It is a collaborative effort because sharing of school level diagnostic data, it provides data which will throw insights to each school, how to charter their development of students and their learning. It also provides data to be used fairly and efficiently for effective monitoring and improvement. These kind of key stage assessment, why SAFAL? One question may come to our mind, why do we have to have SAFAL? These kind of key stage assessments are conducted around the world. Now they provide a comparable school level learning marker, like where am I or where is my school compared to the national outcome levels. Now what do they do? This data can be used by the schools to improve their learning outcome. Basically, it will nudge from a formal system towards the school system, towards competency-based learning. By providing a formal protocol to collect valid and reliable data to chart performance on competencies at that level and at below the grade level, to know whether children of class 5, students of class 5 are able to perform and what is the level of performance at that level or a grade below the level. Now that measures school performances on key competencies, and proficiency levels can be used to measure the effectiveness of the school through systematic monitoring and reporting of learning levels. It also helps to identify the interventions that are needed, academic support that are needed by the schools. What would be the use of SAFAL reports? How do we use the report? Since SAFAL reports are on school performances on predetermined competencies, the competency and proficiency level are predetermined. And therefore, any report of the school performance on these predetermined competencies and proficiency can be used by the schools, school management, by parents, by teachers to improve the learning outcome. Now, it will not only tell where the school is, it will also provide us with valuable insight and suggestion for the kind of and then, though the report is yet to come, we have not been given the report yet. However, once we get the report, it will not only tell us what are the interventions needed which even a bright student may need some intervention in particular proficiency level. So the schools, the report have two-pronged advantage, one for the schools, another for parents. For the schools, it will provide a diagnostic information on core competences. The performance of the school on each competency and proficiency level will be available. Based and competency-based education. SAFL data would generate classroom level insights that can be used by teachers and school heads to improve learning outcomes by developing classroom level intervention. We come to learn that in mathematics, this concept would need further reinforcement by the teacher. So how can parents use intervention? However, one caution is it is not to be used for passing judgments on passing or failing students. This is not for, it is to improve on the learnings. Just a sample item. It is a screenshot of a sample item for EVS, for sample question for grade 5. And proficiency level, this is how for life science it is. Competency, and this is for grade 5. Competency is NCERT theme, family and friends relationship. Proficiency level is advanced. This is how these are the items, and options given are these. This is just a screenshot to share with you. Similar is the case language, sample language item that was used in SAFL, which comprehends, tries to analyze the language proficiency of the learner at grade 5. This is how a sample SAFL school report card would look like. I'm sure it's easy to understand. Everyone can make sense of it. So this makes the performance of students. The language competence is one. Now meets grade 5. If we can see, meets grade 5 means 50% of the students are able on that test item. 50% of the students are able to meet the competency proficiency level of grade 5, but 30% are there of the children are able to meet that for grade 4, and remaining 20% would be able to have been able to meet with only up to grade 3. So how, for what information this result has come out? Retrieve information. This is the band given. Retrieve information that is explicitly stated at word level. How many of them could interpret the information? 40% up to grade 5, they could do for the same grade. 30% could do it for up to grade 4 level, and 30% could do only up to grade 3 level. Reflective practices, just see how it changes. When it comes to reflection, the result shows only 20% of grade 5 student could do the reflection, which is meant to be up to grade 5. 30% could do only up to grade 4, and 50% could meet only up to grade 3. Talks about volume of the kind of assessment practices that we do in school, and what we try to test is more of retrieving the information collected only. And that is why this is the report for an XYZ school. This is, meets grade 5 level. See, 120 to 150 is score pattern of the school. that is grade 3 level, 151 to 180, grade 4 and grade 5. See, the national, in this particular screenshot, it shows that though the national benchmark is at band 3, this particular school's average is at band 4. What would be the future outlook of SAFL? See, it is a very, very ambitious project, and CBSE also has initiated this. However, it would continuously provide the entire schooling system to revise the teaching learning processes, to optimize the learning and development for all students. As it grows bigger in future, it aims to inculcate providing the following, which is micro data. It plans to provide now in future. CBSE would be given us micro data whereby teachers may be given secure access to student level data, and that would help the teacher to know the competencies tested through the SAFL examination. It would prevent, it is diagnostic, so prevent misuse of data for promoting or failing a child. It would avoid disclosing raw or percentage scores so that schools may not use it as a data for promoting or failing a child. Needless to say, it would provide enough scale to facilitate and improve pedagogy, whereby teachers would be able to understand what students know and what they can do in different subjects. It will help identify the scope in future will enlarge, because it would help identify 3-4 competencies that each child needs to improve without disclosing their identity. I'll just try to run over through once. National, there's a difference. Please do not confuse between NAS and SAFL. They are different, they are uniquely and distinctively different in various aspects, like assessment coverage. For instance, NAS is sample-based, which provides a snapshot of what students know and can do. Coverage, target population, whereas SAFL is a census assessment for all students across target grades. So basic difference is NAS is sample based, where a sample class is chosen, while SAFL is census assessment covering. Now it tries to measure indicative of individual and school performance against the core competences. NAS is applicable to the students of grade 3, 5, 8 and 10, while the target population for SAFL is only 3, 5 and 8. NCRT and CBSE has been doing NAS from 2021 onwards, whereas SAFL is an initiative by CBSE. NAS provides data on districts against learning outcome, against the national performance to enable differential planning, while SAFL provides diagnostic data on individual school against learning outcome and key competences. Again, NAS results are aggregated at the systems level, while SAFL will provide diagnostic data through school level report card also, which will help school to plan their resources, allocation, intervention, academic intervention that would be required. So they are distinctively different in terms of coverage, target population, assessment authorities and purpose of assessment, and usage of data. Several resources are available, and I'm just taking you through the CBSE website where you can find out the SAFL. This is the Language Assessment Framework Handbook, again available in CBSE, Mathematics, Language and Environmental Sciences. we come to the second last module, which is Holistic Progress Card, HPC. What is, again, we take excerpts from NEP 2020, which talks about what would be HPC. It would be a holistic 360-degree multidimensional report that reflects in great detail the progress as well as the uniqueness of each learner in the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains. This would include self-assessment, peer assessment, the progress of the child in project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, quizzes, role plays, group work, portfolios, along with the teacher assessment. It will be an important link between home and the school. So the holistic report card will help the goal setting. Now the HPC, the teacher, along with in consultation with other stakeholders, would be able to set the future goals, thus providing directions to both the teacher and the child in terms of future action. It builds on the self-awareness. HPC will be able to communicate the strength and areas of improvement. And that will happen through participation and discussion between various teachers, the child, and wherever possible, we will take into account the parents' involvement. The most important unique feature of HPC is it will assess the ability of the child to complete an assessment according to the predefined structure. And it will not judge the learner. It is interdisciplinary and flexible. Various kind of activities, prompts, templates that are provided to the teacher, there is a possibility to customize them according to the school's individual need as well as the need of the learner, making HPC a very, very flexible tool. Because it is interdisciplinary, because it would take into account not only the cognitive domain, but psychomotor, and as well as the affective domain. And it tracks the skills and competencies as per the guidelines of Nipun Bharat, which is given in FLN. It promotes learning. Goals of HPE, it ensures primary purpose of assessment is promoting learning and development of students. The focus is on formative assessment of learning rather than summative assessment that encourages today's coaching culture. And it is a shift from rote memorization to competency-based higher order skills such as analysis, critical thinking, and conceptual clarity. It optimizes assessment by enabling the schools to continuously revisit their teaching learning processes with the ultimate aim of optimizing the learning and development of all students. Why do we think that it is HPC's need of the hour? It is both. It is a pedagogical process as well as a tool through which both the teachers and the parents will participate for student achievement and development of various competencies. It's a process of learning. The process of learning needs to be given more importance rather than the product. And it takes into account assessment as of and for learning. It provides insights regarding the learner's strength, areas of interest, as well as the scope for improvement. It is a dynamic tool. It's dynamic and continuous, aiding to the growth and development of the learner instead of assessing or judging the final outcomes only. Acknowledges and celebrates the uniqueness of each learner. It is holistic because it focuses on all-round development of the learner. It traces them on various domains and not only on the cognitive domain. It is very, very comprehensive because multiple forms of assessment tools can be used and they are all flexible. It is a collaborative endeavor of the parents, the learners, the peers, and the teacher. It is a process through which teachers and the parents will participate for student achievement of competencies. So that's why HPC is the need of the hour. What would be the format of HPC? A suggestive exemplar card based on Nipun Bharat guidelines prepared for preschool 1 to grade 3. CBSE affiliated schools may adopt, and they can adapt also as per their requirement, context, locality, and priorities. It is a continuous assessment. This card is an individualized and comprehensive representation of the student's progress, and it builds on the continuous assessment to present a picture of the student's progress over a specified time. At the beginner level, it would be desirable that a teacher include a narrative that how he or she will support and what parental support is required. It must select a non-hierarchical and neutral icon such as maybe a flower, a tree, a smiley in the cards for representation. Parents' feedback, there is a complete part given to make parents as partners in the learning progress of the child. Section on parents' feedback is also given in it. A comprehensive list of age and grade-wise outcomes is given as per foundational literacy and numeracy framework Nipun, which are expected to be covered during the classroom session. The whole idea of HPC is reporting the progress of the students, selected competencies that represent the critical areas, and self-assessment, peer assessment. There is a section given on self-assessment and peer assessment, which shall reflect the self-reflection, peer reflection on the way, and also some activity-based experiential learning. The 3 section development. Section 1 deals with developmental goals and competencies. Section 2 deals with parents' feedback, and section 3 talks about portfolio. These are the available resources on the CBSE website, and CBSE presentation on HPC, that's also I've taken. These you can always log on to the CBSE site. Before we go to this school quality assessment and assurance framework, I'll just take you to the last video. It's the last video, which is on SQUAW. This is very, very close to my heart, as we have been for long, almost a year and a half, associated with the development of this and I'm blessed to be a part of this journey all through for about a year and a half on school quality assessment. So we'll take you through a small video that I'll share now. Again, I have taken this up from CBSE site only. But before we proceed, we would like you to.
When learning and teaching continually improves, everything improves. Excellence of the education system depends a lot upon the functioning of a school. And when we say functioning, it's not just the knowledge of teachers, but a lot many Regulation must aim to empower schools and teachers with trust, enabling them to strive for excellence and perform at their very best, while ensuring the integrity of the system through the enforcement of complete transparency and full public disclosure of all finances, procedures, and educational outcomes.
Since we are running a little short of time, the video, since it can be accessed at the CBSE website also, we will run through and we will discuss, because it has a lot of things to be discussed. I would request you to see for yourself the video, because it is causing the school. Now the school quality assessment and assurance framework, that is SQA. Again, taken directly, excellence in education is something, it has been taken up. Excellence in education, again taken up directly from page 31. Of SQA framework. What is this SQA? It is a comprehensible self-assessment tool in alignment with NEP's guideline regarding It talks about school excellence and the best practices for attaining individual and institutional excellence. What is SQA? A comprehensible individual plan for school improvement covering all domain, and the students or learner is the center stage of this. The criteria of assessment remains the same for whether it is government or private school, and the focus is on continuous school improvement and enabling the school to charter their own improvement plans. It is a tool for educationists, leaders, management, and all those involved in making a difference in the lives of children. Allows to reflect, ensure accountability, lead to innovation, ensure adherence, ensure inclusivity, healthy environment, review and reflect. CBSE has been chosen as a standard setting authority for the schools affiliated for KVs, JNV, and the various schools affiliated to it. It is an exhaustive and implementable objective self-assessment tool with underlying measure of acceptability and credibility, benchmarked by best global standards, to be viewed as a tool for continual improvement. The vision and mission of SQA. We'll come to the structure and organization of SQA. Schematically, we can understand SQA because it encompasses a whole school process. So it would be better understood with this graphical organizer, and that is broad areas of school functioning. There are domains which includes various domains are there, which includes what are the broad areas of school functioning. Then specifies subdomains are there which specifies what constitute a domain. Domains can be curriculum and pedagogy, infrastructure, various kind of domains. 7 domains are there. Then there is standards. Standards are what defines subdomains, and standards have assessment rubric and guiding principles. Assessment rubrics are given by performance indicators and level. 4 performance levels are specified. Each school can have 4 levels. They can assess their practices in 4 different performance level depending upon the practices that they follow. And these performance indicators are set of observable actions. Now, our practices, which are termed as performance indicators. These are the domains and subdomains, 7 domains, right, starting from curriculum, pedagogy, and assessment, with various subdomains. Infrastructure, like classrooms, library, laboratories, these are the subdomains. Human resource, inclusive practices, management and governance, leadership, and beneficiary satisfaction. Weightage given to all domains. It is taken that the domain of curriculum and pedagogy, that carries the highest 40% weightage as compared to other domains. And those domains, these are all other domains, they are taken as enablers and facilitators. So each of them have 10% weightage. This is what the domains look like: curriculum, pedagogy and assessment, infrastructure, human resource, 7 domains, subdomains, 49 subdomains, and benchmarking statements are 84. It's a process of self-assessment on the developmental continuum and suggestive time frame. School can take up. They can charter then their own plans, developmental plan. You can take up any one practice that you want to improve. You self-assess yourself. And the best part of this, it is exhaustive and non-threatening. You can implement this. There is no inspection. You can implement it at your own space. And final step, you need to develop a plan, what you need to improve depending upon the priorities that you choose. And then the final step in the SCORE process is implementation of the developmental plan that you have made. Now, this is 4R, which are very, very important. You need to review, reflect, respond, and rate. Any practice that you choose from any domain, whether it is curriculum, whether it is infrastructure, you need to review. Where are we now? What are we doing? Why are we doing what we are doing? What is working? What is not working? We reflect. We respond to that. How do we get to where we want to be? And then we evaluate that whatever we are doing, is it making some sense? Is it making a difference in the lives of people? We need to implement this. We need to involve. We need to make a core team. And that core learning team would include people from all domain. It has to be principal, teachers from all, student from each level, as counselor, one representative of the management, one IT staff. It's a whole school process. So you need to involve all of them to create your core learning team. This would be a suggestive template, and these are the 4 levels. Depending upon the various performance indicators, you can rate yourself at various levels, from inceptive, which is level 1, to level 4, which is dynamic and evolving. These are the scorecard that may be used. What the spirit of SCORE is basically about: self-evaluation, accountability, collaboration, and innovation. The available resources are standards for excellence in school education, which is available in the CBSE website itself. SCORE, please take this up. And now it has been mandated also by CBSE that every school has to have this. I'll stop my presentation so that I can take up some question. But before we end, to summarize SCORE, I would say it is an all-encompassing self-improvement journey which schools should take up, and involving all stakeholders. I'll stop my presentation so that in case of any question, please feel free to use the chat box for any queries that you have. Any queries can be taken. I would be able to take on the question. Would request attendance. I am getting many people asking about attendance. Attendance, if you have taken up
Hello.
joined from
Hello, ma'am.
CBSE Shiksha Mail, attendance would not be taken. Your attendance will be taken on your own. So don't worry about the attendance. In case you have any question on any of the modules that have been covered today, please feel free. The sample of HPC feedback link has been already given.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, meeting take over Archana, ma'am.
Yes,
So
please.
closing.
Archana ma'am, if you are there, if you can put on the closing comments, ma'am. I request Archana ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am. Request you to please
Yes,
come
ma'am,
forward
good
for.
afternoon.
Good
You have
afternoon.
taken all the comments, ma'am? You
Yeah.
have seen all the questions? Anything
Yes,
has to
ma'am.
be answered?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So, namaskar and good evening to all the participants. It has been a very well explained and enriching session by which Papya ma'am has taken on the various initiatives that the board has undertaken in compliance to NEP 2020. Now, I feel that this session will help you all in a smooth and successful implementation of NEP 2020 in your school. Then, if I come, I think so. The session and all the experience that the participants have gained over in this training program will be helping them in their future endeavor. I would like to extend my thanks to Director Academics who have been under whose guidance this series of training program have been possible, and Madam Arunima ji, Joint Secretary CBSE, who has been instrumental in conducting these training programs. Then my sincere thanks to Dr. Papya ma'am, who has taken this long, training session and have given you the insight and have explained these initiatives so wonderfully that how, firstly, she has explained and as well as she has also told you how they can be effectively implemented in your schools. And at last, my sincere thanks to all the esteemed principals who have participated in this training program. Thank you all.
Thank you, Archana ma'am, and not to forget Geeta ma'am, who has been all through there as co-host.
Okay.
Ma'am, if
Yes,
you want,
yes.
uh, she had been all
Yes,
through
yes.
there, ma'am. If you
Now
want to
I'm
add
signing
on.
out. I definitely, ma'am, very much thanks to Geeta ma'am also, who has been there for the whole training program, and her presence is also solicited, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good show, Papia ma'am. Wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am.